All right, so we are going to look at doing session 2, the research simulation task. We have looked at doing this for the last couple of months off and on, and we really spent last week looking at the research simulation task. And I know the research simulation task to a lot of people is boring when you have to do it on the leap because it is exhausting and you have to do it twice. You always do it for social studies, you will always do it for ELA. You may or may not always do a literary essay because sometimes you do a narrative like you've done the last few years, but you will always have a research simulation task. And the topic is always, remember, it's a nonfiction topic. It's 2 to 3 articles, usually 3, and you're going to be reading an article, answering questions, reading an article, answering questions, reading an article, answering questions, and then you're going to have some kind of essay that you have to do, some kind of writing. But we discussed really last week the fact that a research simulation task pretty much is doing 2 things because they want to see that you comprehend, they want to see that you understand. So you're pretty much summarizing and explaining. Summarizing and explaining. Just like I said, if you watched a movie or you read your own Reader's Choice book and I said, okay, well, what is it about? The way that you would show me you understood it is by summarizing the key points and then explaining what it's about. And that's pretty much in 5th and 6th grade what you have to do for a research simulation task. And that's why last week we focused on the idea of being able to write the thesis, the big claim about what your essay is going to be about from the prompt before you've read the articles, before you've done that. And we actually did that with the research simulation task that you have right now. We looked at writing about the penguins, and we talked about how to do that, and we worked it out. And I wish I had my paper that we did, but it's in the classroom, and we can't get into the school right now. But if you were able to take your notebooks home, I know one of my classes was able to take their notebooks home. If you were able to, you already have that thesis, and we worked out how you would go about looking through the articles to get your information, to gather your information in order to do those 2 things, summarize and explain. But we're going to kind of go over the articles right now. So if you've already done them, you can check your work. If not, then this will be just like if we were in class, minus me being able to do mix, pair, and share in between these lessons. So we're going to go through the multiple choice research simulation task right now, and then we'll look at doing the essay later on. Okay, so we'll go to the first article. And before you start reading for research simulation task, always look and see what the directions say because it kind of gives you a hint. So it says, today you will research how penguins are rescued after a large oil spill. So they're letting you know what you're researching. You're researching how penguins were rescued after a large oil spill, and you will read 3 articles. That's good, so that way you understand how many sources you're going to have to go through. Kind of helps you with your pacing if you're being timed, which on a leap you will be. As you review these sources, you will gather information and answer questions about the rescue of penguins so you can write an essay. So it gives us the first article, The Amazing Penguin Rescue by Lauren Tarshis, and then it wants us to answer questions 12 and 13. And this also has a map, so you want to make sure you look at what the map says as well. Remember, we talked about all the things, whatever they give you in the article, from the title, the author, if they give you background information, read everything in a research simulation task. All right, so paragraph 1. Imagine you are an African penguin living on an island in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. You live with tens of thousands of other penguins on a rocky beach. It's a typical day there in June, cold and windy. The beach echoes with penguin noises, barks and honks and brays. Some of your fellow penguins fight for territory. Others cuddle with their mates and dote on their chicks. And then it has a picture of the spill zone, and it tells you about where Cape Town is, where some of this, where this is taking place, between the Atlantic and Indian Oceans in South Africa. Paragraph 2. You're hungry, so you head down to the water's edge. You waddle on tiny feet, and your wings are too stubby for flying. But in the water you can swim faster and dive deeper than any bird on Earth. As you plunge into the sea, your wings become powerful underwater propellers. You shoot through the water at 12 miles an hour, a black and white blur, snatching sardines from the surface, swallowing them whole, then catching more. Your thick feathers protect you from the freezing water. You stay in the sea for hours until your belly is full. Then you turn to head back to the shore. That's when something goes wrong. As you come to the surface for air, the water feels unfamiliar. It is thick and it burns your eyes. You try to swim away, but suddenly your wings are too heavy to lift and you can barely propel yourself. Your body wobbles and rolls. You feel bitterly cold. You shiver and gasp for breath. What you don't know is that just hours ago, a cargo ship called Treasure hit a reef and split apart. As it sank, 1,300 tons of toxic crude oil gushed into the sea. Oil surrounds your breeding ground, the largest African penguin breeding ground in the world. You are not the only penguin that has become soaked with the poisonous oil. Thousands of others have been trapped in the massive oil slick. The impact of oil on a penguin or any bird is immediate and devastating. You are shivering because the oil has caused your layers of feathers to separate. Freezing water now lashes at your sensitive skin. Your eyes hurt because the oil has burned them. Your wings are heavy because they are coated with oil. But your instinct for survival is strong. Somehow you struggle back to shore, fighting the waves and the current. The trip, usually effortless, is an agonizing ordeal. You manage to stagger onto the beach and back to your nest. You lick and peck at your feathers, desperate to clean them. Finally, you give up. There is nothing to do but stand there, terrified, dazed, and silent. Okay, so I'm going to stop real quick. If you remember from when we wrote the thesis, what you're going to have to write about is the fact that each of these articles tells about the same event from different points of view, just like we had to do with the literary analysis task yesterday, or whenever you did this. But you're going to have to look at the points of view, and this oil spill is being told from whose point of view? It's from the penguin. You're imagining that you're a penguin. So this is kind of how it would be to be a penguin who gets trapped in an oil spill. Strange creatures, line 10. Then the beach is invaded by enormous creatures. They are humans, but you don't know that. You have never seen a human before. These men and women know what you don't, that this oil spill is a catastrophe for you and your species. Some of them have devoted their lives to helping birds like you, birds caught in oil spills and other human-made disasters. They have helped with bird rescues around the world. All they care about is saving your life. But how could you know this? As the humans swarm the beach, you are overcome with panic. A man catches you. You lash out viciously with your powerful jaws and razor-sharp beak. You bite his arm, ripping his skin through the fabric of his thick coat. He doesn't let go. You strike again, biting his leg, inflicting a wound that will leave a scar for the rest of his life. But he cares more about you than himself. All across the beach, dozens of people are capturing penguins, enduring excruciating bites and wing slaps as they load you and the other penguins into crates. It is painful, exhausting work. The sight of all of these scared and injured penguins is heartbreaking to the humans. Some, grown men and women, fight tears. But they don't give up. Tens of thousands of penguins are in danger, and they intend to save every single one. 10 miles from the island, outside the city of Cape Town, a team of workers and volunteers have transformed a warehouse into a penguin rescue center. They have worked with astonishing speed. The warehouse holds hundreds of round enclosures, each large enough for 100 penguins. There are additional areas where penguins will be washed. One room is filled with 10 tons of frozen fish, the amount needed daily to feed the penguins. Acquiring this enormous quantity of fish every day will be one of the workers' great challenges. Actually, everything is a challenge. Simply getting one penguin to eat is a monumental task. In the wild, penguins hunt for sardines and gobble them up while they are still alive and wriggling. These penguins won't accept the dead fish offered by human hands. Workers have to force feed them. They must restrain a penguin, pry its beak open, and shove the fish down its throat. Feeding one penguin can take an hour. Feeding all of the penguins takes an army of workers 15 hours. And then there is the smell that fills the warehouse, a combination of penguin droppings, dead sardines, and human sweat. It is a stench so powerful that many people throw up when they first arrive. But not even the smell keeps people away. As news of the rescue effort spreads, hundreds and then thousands of volunteers flock to the warehouse eager to help. They are a diverse group including rich women from fancy neighborhoods and poor teenagers from Cape Town streets. Some have experience helping wildlife. Some have never even owned a pet. All of them have one thing in common, a mission to save as many penguins as possible. Okay, so that's Article 1 or Source 1. We talked about if you're writing for social studies, sometimes keeping track of the different things they tell you to do for the research simulation task, you can call them a source, so that way you can reference it. In Source 1 it says, in Source 2 it says, for us in ELA we said Article 1. And remember, we noticed last week when we did the thesis that 2 of these articles have the exact same title, so we'll have to note the authors in order to show the difference, because I think the first 2 are called the Amazing Penguin Rescue. All right, question 12, part A. What are 2 main ideas of the article by Loren Tarshis? So they want 2. Once again, this year for some reason, I've noticed that many students tend to choose 1 when it tells you to choose 2, so you have to go through 2. So what are 2 main ideas of the article by Loren Tarshis? So A, oil spills can spread quickly. Okay, that we learned that, but it was one of the main ideas. B, penguins are good swimmers. That's a fact, but does it really go with much of what the main idea of the article was? C, oil spills are a great threat to penguins. That seemed to be one of the ideas. We'll keep looking. D, penguins take good care of their young. E, penguins are interesting animals to watch. Seems more like an opinion. F, people work hard to help the penguins get better. Of those options, C, oil spills are a great threat to penguins, and F, people work hard to help the penguins get better. Those 2 are the options. So for part A, we'd say C and F. Okay, part B. Which 2 sentences from the article best support the answer to part A? Okay, so I'm looking for evidence that supports the idea that oil spills are a great threat to penguins and that people are working hard to help the penguins get better. So A, others cuddle with their mates and dote on their chicks. That doesn't tell me anything. B, as you plunge into the sea, your wings become powerful underwater propellers. Okay, so that's about them being good swimmers. C, you are not the only penguin that has become soaked with the poisonous oil. That might be. D, the impact of oil on a penguin or any bird is immediate and devastating. Immediate and devastating. That sounds like it would go with C. With our first main idea that oil spills are a great threat to penguins. So I'm going to keep that one in mind. E, in the wild, penguins hunt for sardines and gobble them up. Okay, no, that's not it. And F, all of them have one thing in common, a mission to save as many penguins as possible. Okay, that seems to go with the second main idea that we chose in part A. So I'm going to say that it's D and F for part B. D, the impact of oil on a penguin or any bird is immediate and devastating. And F, all of them have one thing in common, a mission to save as many penguins as possible. All right, so that's 12. Okay. So this would be question 13 says, using the list of events in the article by Loren Tarshis, complete the diagram to show a cause, its effects, and the rescue. So this is cause, effect, and response. And we've done this in the iReady workbooks in class. And this is one of those things I don't fill it in and show it through the camera because my camera would show it in reverse and that wouldn't help you. The main thing you have to remember is that the effects don't have to be in any particular order. You have to know what is the cause, what is the response, and then the effects go in. So you want to get your cause and response correct. first, and then the effects will go in. So the cause, you have to say, okay, what's the first thing that happens that has an effect on everything else? So find your cause first. So would it be that the penguin's eyes burn? Well, what's it burning? It's burning from something, so that can't be the cause. The penguin swims through oil. That might be it. The penguin feels cold. Well, why are they feeling cold? The penguin is rescued by people. That's not gonna. They have to be rescued from something. Something has to happen. The penguin has difficulty swimming. Well, they don't normally do, so there's got to be some reason. What is it? It's the oil, right? So the cause, the first thing you fill in is that the penguin swims through oil. That's your first thing. That's your cause. The penguin swims through oil. Well, bad things happen. So what's going to happen after the bad things? It's that the penguin is going to be rescued by people. So my response is that the penguin is rescued by people. So once again, my cause, the penguin swims through oil, and my response, the penguin is rescued by people. And the other three are effects of the penguin swimming through the oil. So I can put those in effect 1, effect 2, and effect 3, and it doesn't matter which order, because they're all equal. You notice the blocks are all equal. This would be a drag and drop response. Most likely you would have the options and you would click and you would drag and put them in. And remember, for these questions, we call these technology enhanced questions. It means you have to use technology to answer them. It's not like just clicking. You have to drag and drop or do something like that. This is one where people sometimes get confused and they realize that it's confused and they just click and go to the next one. Don't do that. If you're bogged down, find that cause, find the response, and then put the effects in. And it's okay if you drag and you realize you did something wrong, then take them all out if you have to and start over again. I know it's a little more difficult with the technology enhanced questions for 5th graders because they're used to just being able to fill in the blank, but don't do that. If you realize that you made a mistake, it's okay. And if you get bogged down and you want to come back to that question, you click that question to mark it and then keep going and then you come back. But don't just skip it. Don't just assume, well, I've done too much and I've messed it up. Same thing if you're handwriting. If you've got it all the wrong things and you start erasing and your eraser's out and it's just looking all messy, okay, black out everything and start over. Okay, make sure that the answer that you know to be correct is what's marked for this question. All right, so we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna stop right there for a moment, and then we'll go on to Article 2.